Hey guys, Terry Martin here, and I am back with another video to show you a tip on how you can use a couple of really cool tools that I use all the time when you need to troubleshoot regular expressions. And I'm bringing you this tip because a good number of my students have encountered this issue when they are working on some of my projects in my Java course, and they need to parse some text using regular expressions because that's kind of part of the exercise. And they'll often run into small little issues that will cause their regular expressions to not work. Well, actually, it'll cause their whole entire program to not work. They often don't realize that the issue has to do with their regex, regular expressions. Now, this video isn't going to be a regular expressions lesson per se. If you want that, you should come check out my Java course where, among other things, I have an entire chapter that is dedicated to the basics of regular expressions, and we go relatively deep into it, okay? So that's not what this lesson is going to focus on, though we'll touch a little bit of it. This lesson is for those of you who are already dabbling with regex, but you are sometimes encountering issues and you want to figure out, how can I troubleshoot? How can I debug my code as far as the regular expressions are concerned? So that's what I'm going to show you in this lesson. All right, so turning to the browser here, I've got the very project in question that most of my students get tripped up on when they are doing these regular expression things. And as you can see here, I've got this multi-line string with these comma separated values representing employee roles, okay? So let's just say that we wanted to create a regular expression that could just parse this little bit here. And let me acknowledge right now, using a regex to parse this would not necessarily be the way that I would do this in real life. I'd almost certainly just use a string.split and split on the commas. But if you wanted to do this with regex, let's see how we might go about that. Now, we're only going to focus on this little bit for right now, okay? So I want to show you two ways that you could do this. First off, IntelliJ, and that, by the way, I'm sorry, IntelliJ is the IDE that I'm in. So one of the tips here is going to be specific to IntelliJ, okay? So IntelliJ actually has an okay regex tester built right into it. So I can select this text, and I'm just going to do an option, up arrow there to select that, and then do a Command C or Control C for Windows and Linux users. And then I can jump over to some code with some regex. Now I happen to have a class open right here, and look at that, I've got some regex right here. So if I select this regex, like so, and then I do an Option Enter or Alt Enter, I believe, for Windows and Linux users, I will get this handy dandy context menu here. And then I can type regex, or I can just type the beginning of regex, and that narrows down the list of options in this menu. And I want that one right there, check regexp. All right, so regular expression. And then I can hit return or enter, and look at that. I get this little window here with my regular expression in it. And in this particular case, the text that I had previously is already here, but I'm going to paste the text that I just copied a minute ago. So I'm going to paste that in. And as soon as I did that, you see that now I'm getting this little red exclamation mark here, which is indicating that the text that I have down here does not match with this regex, okay? And so now I can troubleshoot what's going on with either my text or the regular expression. And I'm going to step through this process relatively quickly, just so you can see a little bit about how I typically go about kind of troubleshooting a regular expression. And basically, all I'm going to do, well, actually, first off, I see one issue right away. I need to get rid of the curly braces there. Okay, but getting rid of the curly braces did not fix this. So the next thing I would do is just start stepping through the regular expression one bit at a time, right? So my first bit here is one or more word characters, and so that would be this bit here, followed by an equal sign. I probably don't even need to escape that, actually. And let's see, and then followed by one or more word characters again, which will now be this value here. And of course, I am using a named capture group to be able to capture that value, whatever it may be. So that's looking okay, followed by a comma. Again, I don't know why I escaped that, but there's a comma there. And then I am looking for one or more word characters. But down here, I think I see a space. And so let me get rid of that space. Or I could allow for the space if I, modified my expression right here, \s, and I don't know, I guess I will say, how about I say 0 or more spaces? I'll make it optional, okay? So an optional space followed by one or more word characters, which would be this YOE, then followed by the equal sign. Again, I'm going to get rid of the overly safe \. That was just to escape that in case the equal sign could ever be interpreted as a code, essentially. All right, let's see, where am I now? Space, one or more word characters, equal sign, and then the 10 here, which again is going to be inside of a capture group called YOE, and that's going to be one or more word characters. So that's looking good, followed by a comma, followed by, and then again, I'm looking for immediately some word characters after the comma, but down here, I think I'm seeing another space. So again, I will modify this regex to allow for 0 or more spaces, and look at that. As soon as I put that in there, I got the green check mark, okay? And so that is one way that you certainly could troubleshoot a regex. And that's nice because it's built right into the IDE. However, there is another way that I actually use more frequently, and I want to show you that one. And for this, let's raise the stakes a little bit here. So let's see, let's jump back over to here, and let's grab a few of these lines now, okay? So maybe even 4 lines. Yeah, let's do that. And so now I'm going to jump over to my browser. And in my browser, I'm on a website that I really enjoy coming to quite a bit called regex101.com. And I will try to remember to put a link to this website in the description to this video. All right, so here I can come down here to where it says test string and just paste what I just copied a minute ago. Now, be careful here because as you see, I got these leading spaces here, and maybe you care about that and maybe you don't, and maybe your regex is resilient enough to handle that and maybe it isn't. If you wanted to avoid that, and let's say that I had pasted a zillion of these in instead of just 4, one thing I could have done instead is to do a column selection, and that is, I think, a Command-Shift-8. There we go. Yeah, Command-Shift-8. Okay, so you see here now, I'm able to select multiple lines as if they are columns, though, okay? And so it's going to not select the space, the indentation, or the tabs that are at the beginning of each of these lines, okay? And so now I can grab a few of these, and I guess I will just grab each of these right up to the end of the longest line. And then I can do a Command-C, like so, and then jump back over here and then do that again. So I'm going to do a Command-A to select all of that and a Command-V or Control-V to paste. And now I don't have those leading spaces there, although I do now have trailing spaces at the end. Take your pick of, which approach you prefer. But this is one way to handle this, at least. All right, and then for my expression, so let's say I want to create my expression from scratch, right? And I want real-time feedback as to whether or not I'm on the right path with that expression. So let me show you what that would look like. So typically what I would do is first select the language over here because different programming languages often will use slightly different language variants of regular expressions. So regex is a language itself, and different programming languages will often subscribe to or use a particular flavor of regex. So by selecting Java in this particular case, because that's what I'm using in that project over there, I'm telling this website's regex engine to evaluate the regular expression that I'm about to create for Java, okay? All right, so I can come up here and then I can start composing a regular expression. So let's say I'm going to do, let's see, one or more word characters. And look at that. I get this beautiful, nice feedback. And that's the reason why I have a tendency to prefer using regex 101 over the built-in regular expression tool that I just showed you in IntelliJ. Though, hey, I love IntelliJ, it's great, but it's not quite at this level, okay? So that \W, it's matching on every single word character right away. Then I'm going to do a plus there just to group those letters together. I don't want to match the individual letters. I want whole entire words in this particular case. And then look over here, it even shows me what's matching in that way as well. So again, that's just really cool. All right, so one or more word characters followed by a comma, followed by what looks like one space. I'm going to go ahead and be safe though, and maybe even say 0 or more spaces, right? Just because I can. And then let's see, one or more word characters again, and that gets me to Fred, and then another comma, and then another space, and again, I'm going to make that optional. And then I come up to a date. So let's say maybe I want to capture that date, so I will use a capture group, and I like named capture groups most of the time, and I'm going to call this one date. And then the format is day /month /year, because I'm in America and that's how we do it. and 4 of those. Now, let me come back to these days, because obviously some days and months could have 2 digits instead of 1. And right now my regex would only match on 1-digit months and days. In fact, let's get some new data in here to kind of mess this up a little bit. See, so if I do that, then those 2 lines no longer match. So let's fix that now in the regex. So I could say I want up to 2 characters here. So 1, 2, right? I can do that. And then I can do that again over here, 1, 2. And now we're back to matching again. So it's just beautiful to be able to get the real-time feedback as I am composing my regex here, right? And then another comma, and then another space, and I will make that optional again. And then what do we have here? Some more word characters, 1 or more word characters and a comma, and then another space. I will make that guy optional again. And then I've got a curly brace here. Now let's see. Oh, now that suddenly broke that, and that might be because that curly brace is a special character. Looks like it is. So now I got that happy again. Okay, so next I have these fields. Now, because these are fields, maybe I choose to hard code the keys of these key value fields, right? So I could hard code LOCPD equals, and then do a capture group named, and I will name it the same thing, LOCPD, and this is a number, right? So I'm going to do plus 1 or more numbers, followed by a comma. Now, the first line here I see has a space and the others don't, so I will do an optional space, just like that, right? And then my next field, which is YOE equals, and then another capture group. And this will be called YOE. And this is another number, so I will do 1 or more digits, and that wrapped around to the next line. That's okay though. Followed by a comma, followed by another optional space, right? So \S star, right? And so that handles that. IQ equals, and then another number, and so another capture group. Now, you notice that when I'm doing these capture groups, I have a tendency to kind of start off with the opening and the closing, and then, and then I do that again, like here with the opening and the closing of the greater than, less than, and greater than symbols. Now, that's just me, and that's just kind of a habit that I don't know if I would call it a habit, but a pseudo habit that I like to do so that I can sort of protect myself from forgetting to put those symbols in later, right? Because if I have to put a bunch of regular expressions, stuff in here, it could be that by the time I get to the end of that, I forget to put, my closing parentheses if I have more stuff to do, to carry on with. So you will see me frequently setting up my opening and closing brackets or braces or curlies or whatever they are, right? When you see me doing this kind of thing. I'm not 100% always consistent with it, but it is probably a good habit to get into because it's so easy to forget those things, especially when you are writing out very cryptic looking code like this. Super easy to miss something. Okay, so anyway, in here, what is this? This is IQ. And then we're capturing one or more digits again, right? Now here, in fact, I did not put that closing curly brace right there. So, but now I have it. Now that's interesting that I thought it made me escape the curly brace up here. Yeah, it did. It sure did. So, interesting. Okay, whatever. And then now I could just leave it here, but if I wanted to grab the whole rest of the line all the way to the end for whatever reason, I could maybe do a dot star and then maybe even a $, which basically matches on the new line character at the end, which is represented here as that little arrow there, right? That's meaning, here's a carriage return. But carriage return and new line are actually not the same thing, but they are depicting the new line or whatever as such. Now, okay. Oh, and also it matches on just the end of the file, okay? Because there technically is no end of line. There technically is no new line here. So you may want to be careful with that depending on the flavor of regex that you're using, regex engine that you're using. How does the $ get interpreted? Is it strictly a new line or does it also match on the end of the file? Things like that. And so now looking over here, look at all of this information that it gives. It's just awesome, right? So we get the full match here, and then we get the individual named capture groups as well. So there's the date and LOCPD and YOE and IQ and all of this, right? Just really cool. And then you can scroll and there's the next match and the next match. So it just does an awesome job of breaking all of this out. And then down here, you get this little handy dandy guide or key or whatever you want to call it, right? For a lot of the symbols and things that you can use in regex. And you can, in fact, they're calling it a quick reference, right? So you can look up all the different ways that you can match things. So this is an awesome tool, especially for novices, but I'm not a novice and I like using this tool as well. Now, I will acknowledge that I don't typically think to come over here and use this when I'm composing a brand new regex. I usually kind of just do it from, whatever, kind of blind. But probably I should. Probably if I'm going to write a regex this involved, I probably should come over here and do it here first. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we can basically kind of copy this over. Now, one thing we could look at doing, and honestly, I don't even know what this is going to do. I've used it before, but I don't remember. We could try out this code generator here. So let's see. Yeah, actually that looks usable. If I'm not mistaken, that does look usable. So what we can do, now I don't need all of this, but this bit right here, right? That is what I would want. So let's copy that, then jump over here and let me see here. Oh yeah, let me get out of column select mode. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to make a new string, and it doesn't matter what I'm calling it. This is just for demonstration purposes. And so I'm pasting that, ooh, ouch. Now that just doubled up, hold on, that's not what I meant to do at all. So the problem here is that I put these quotes here, and I don't need those because I already have quotes in what I copied. So let me get rid of the quotes and then do that again, Command V, that's looking better, yeah. And then just put a semicolon at the end. And that is looking beautiful. Now, let me just show you what would have happened if I hadn't done it in this way. So jumping back over here, let me close the code generated stuff and let me just do an old-fashioned copy, okay? And then if I come over here again, make a new line, whoops, make a new line, there we go, string regex2 equals, okay, now if I paste this way, that has a lot of problems. And first off, now I can get rid of that trailing GM. I didn't mean for that to come along for the ride. However, here's the issue. Notice that on the first regex line, these doubled up backslashes here, and my students from my course should recall that in Java you have to escape these backslashes because these backslashes have special meaning in Java. You use them when you're trying to access, for example, other other number systems like hexadecimal or whatever. Okay, so they have special meaning, and so in order for them to not have special meaning, you have to escape them, and you do that by just doubling them up. Okay, so that's something to really be careful about. So if I were you, I would try to remember to just use the code generator if I needed to copy what I had, created up here. That's probably the easier, better way to go. All right. And I don't know. I think that's basically it. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you was these two different techniques that you can use for kind of troubleshooting and I guess even composing your regex, right? So the next time you run into problems with your program working and you've got any regular expressions in there and you're not sure if the regular expression might be the culprit, now you know a couple of different ways that you could kind of troubleshoot it. Basically, you're going to just kind of try it out in isolation rather than trying it out in the fuller context of an entire program. That's almost never a good way to troubleshoot this kind of thing if that may end up being your issue, okay? All right, so that's going to wrap this up. And like I said at the beginning, if you want to learn more about regular expressions or anything else that you see in any of these videos, I strongly recommend that you come check out my Java Foundations course, where I have, I don't even remember how many hours it is, a lot of hours in one chapter that focuses purely on regular expressions, as well as all of the other foundational skills that anyone who wants to become a professional Java software developer should know. I mean, the course is 88 hours long, so there's plenty for you to learn in that course for sure. And then when you're done with that one, I've also got a Unix course that you should take because, again, if your goal is to be a professional software developer, there's a fair chance that whatever you're going to be developing, especially if it's web applications or web services, then it's going to be something that needs to be deployed onto a server. And there's like a 98% likelihood that that server is going to be running some form of Unix, specifically Linux. And you will be doing yourself a favor if you can make sure that you are comfortable, at least, in a Unix environment. And that's what my Unix course is all about. So by all means, please do come check out both of those courses. They are often available at a very deep discount. So do not miss out on those discounts either, okay? And with that, I'm gonna sign off and I'll see you guys in the next one.